good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you might be watching this video, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to AP Biology. My name is Adam Bergeron, and I will be your child's teacher this year. What I'd like to do with this short video is introduce you to the course, introduce you to me, um, and share with you how to get in touch with me if you ever need to for any reason. These are certainly challenging times for each and every one of us, your children included. And no matter what, my intent is for each and every one of us to learn biology together moving forward. So, I have a family, like I'm sure many of you do. My wife, Jackie, my stepdaughter, Polly, my 3-year-old twins, Celia and Ben, are all part of who I go home to every night. This is overall my 18th year teaching life science, and I've taught every course that you can possibly imagine in the content area of life science. It's my 5th year here at Clayton High School. This year, I plan to sponsor the Science Olympiad team, and I've even had the opportunity to teach other AP biology teachers about how to teach AP biology in the recent past. So my hope is that my experience will serve your children well as we begin the year together. So a question that I hope students will begin to ask themselves as we get started this year is, why is studying biology important in the first place? Now, of course, they often don't phrase the question in this way. They phrase the question more like this: is this going to be on the test? And setting aside the fact that tests have to look different for the foreseeable future, I hope that biology for your children this year will be more than just preparing for what's going to be on the test. I hope that what we do this year will intentionally and purposefully make them better learners and better biologists. And here's how I hope we can accomplish that goal. When we begin studying a particular concept in biology, I always want to try to ask students a question, a big question. And in fact, I'm going to ask you folks to be learners as you watch this video. And the question that I'm going to pose to you actually is going to be linked to a short video clip. It's a commercial for a product that you can still purchase called Prevagen. So I'm going to load up that commercial now. All right, here we go.
You might take something for your heart, your joints, or your digestion. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you, your brain? With an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish, Prevagen has been shown in clinical trials to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
So the question that I would ask you, or I would have asked your child to consider, is, can Prevagen work? It is an oral medication, and consequently, it's going to have to move into your mouth and down your esophagus and into your stomach. So the biologist in me, and maybe even the biologist in you, begins to wonder what's going to happen to the Prevagen molecules as they enter your stomach. Now, what isn't shown in the commercial, and what requires a little bit of background research, certainly background research that your child could conduct on their own, is that the active ingredient in Prevagen is a protein that is found in jellyfish. So, of course, as that protein is ingested and begins to be digested in the stomach, the protein will be completely denatured. As that protein and as the denatured protein moves through the stomach into the small intestine, it will actually be broken down into its component amino acids. Prevagen can't work. It's biologically impossible for it to work. That's not what the commercial is telling us. And that's not what Walgreens is telling us either. This is a picture that I didn't take too long ago where you can still buy Prevagen. It's available over the counter on shelves at your favorite pharmacy. And I would ask you to look at the price of a substance that cannot work biologically. So why am I sharing this with you? Well, it's because our my children and your children are bombarded with these messages every single day, whether they come in the form of commercials or social media posts or news sites that they might visit. There are all sorts of claims that are being made that simply cannot be true. Now, we can call them whatever we like, but if a true consumer of that information is biologically literate, if they're good biologists, if they're good thinkers, they will not be fooled. They'll know that that particular substance, that particular claim is absolutely false and undeniably false. And consequently, maybe just maybe, won't waste $65 on something that can't possibly make their brains work any better. But one final piece that I wanted to share with you in this video is that none of this thinking, none of this cognition, none of this critical thinking is possible if students are not in an emotional place to do so. I'm often reminded of a time in my life where a teacher demanded that I pay attention. And I did, but I didn't really know how to pay attention. And I can remember in my own career where I've demanded the attention of students, but I've never taught them how. And I've often wondered recently how fair that is to demand something of a child that they're not prepared to do, not because they won't, but because they can't. And what I hope to integrate into many of the lessons that we do this year in ways that will have to be different given our current learning environment is the practice of mindfulness. If you're aware of mindfulness, you know that mindfulness is simply paying attention on purpose. It's a skill set, it's a collection of tools that one can develop that makes it easier to pay attention, to regulate our emotions, and make more responsible decisions. Many of us believe that thinking and feeling are not related to one another, that if we can somehow separate these two from one another and that they don't coexist. And what biology tells us, and these are substantiated claims, these are not false claims and by any stretch of the imagination, is that instead our ability to think, our ability to reason, are directly influenced by our emotional state. And I think it would be disingenuous for me to ask something of your kids that I don't teach them how to also become better at as we move through the year together. So, of course, what happens if your child needs extra help, if they need support? Um, I will do my best to make myself available before school, which now is between 8 and 9 a.m. After school, which really runs between 2 and 4 p.m. We have a designated hour from 2 to 3 that's intended for learning support. I also have some free periods. I'm not sure if your child will be free during those periods, but I'm available during the second, third, fourth, and seventh period, at least for the foreseeable future. You can always reach me by email. But I'm going to encourage people this year for the first time that if you need to reach me, not to use the school phone number. There's a good chance that I'm not going to be able to answer the school phone number. So please call my cell phone. The number is on the screen. You're welcome to leave a voicemail, and I will return your call as soon as I possibly can, but certainly within 24 hours. I hope this video has given you at least a brief introduction of what I hope to do with your child this year. And please, if you have any questions or comments about what we're striving to do, don't hesitate to reach out and contact me.